One of the great joys of life for those of us who seek adventure and beauty is that it's not always necessary to journey to the remote corners of the earth to discover nature's treasures. We need only look close by to explore the creative lighting and alluring creatures in and around a woodland pond. An ode of natural beauty, a woodland pond mirrors the tones of the forest surrounding it. In the ripples, we find life. Many small creatures and plants live on the mirror edge where air and water meet. According to native legend, the water lily was once a star. It became a flower when it fell from the sky into the water. Yellow pond lilies are common in North America and an important food of the muskrat. Once, the pond waters extended out to the forest edge. Organic debris fills in the basin as the years go by. So the pond is gradually shrinking, leaving concentric circles of progressively drier habitats around it. Each habitat has distinctive plants and animals that find their niches in it. Cattails and sedges grow immediately beside the pond in standing water. In turn, they host creatures that require them for nesting or feeding. The crazy sounds of coots delight pond watchers around the world. They're often called mud hens, since they act like a cross between a duck and a chicken. The nests of coots are woven so that they can be adjusted if the waters rise. Coots are related to sorrel rails, which hide in the grass-like sedges so well that they're rarely seen. Their distinctive calls give them away. The pond waters act as a magnet. There's a continual progression of creatures coming from the forest to eat and drink. The sedge habitat becomes progressively drier on one side of the pond until aspen poplar trees take over. On the other side of the pond, the rest of the sedges intergrade with the willows. The northern harrier prefers this habitat. It hunts low over the sedges because it locates even tiny prey by hearing rather than sight. The willow edge remains wet and grades into a tamarack and spruce bog, or muskeg. A used nest has been taken over by a long-eared owl, another marsh hunter. Bonaparte's gulls, the only tree-nesting gull in North America, breed only in muskegs on the edges of northern ponds or lakes. There is usually only one nesting pair at each location. Green summer passes. The young of many species learn to forage on their own. Waxwings wait longer than most birds to breed, so that their young can be fed from the new crop of berries. Autumn is part of the cycle of renewal for many species, which enter the passive sleep of winter. Others are preparing for the challenge of survival. Late winter is a critical time of year for many species. Forage has been steadily decreasing over the winter. White-tailed deer avoid the deep snow if they can, especially as its icy crust makes walking and feeding difficult. Coyotes find many mice and voles at the pond edge. The deer are wary, for packs of coyotes also hunt them. But this coyote is far more interested in catching mice. Spring. What an emotional time it can be for humans, as we long for warmth and color at the end of a long winter season. It brings pond watchers promises of renewal and new adventures, as the pond creatures return from the places winter has driven them. Oh, let us linger when the diving ducks wing to the pond. In black and white coat, the drakes hold court. Migrants sing and pussy willows cling to bare branches as the whole pond rings with the great froggy carol of spring. From pussy willows to groundhogs, we all have favorites among the plants and creatures that respond to the siren call of spring. In contrast to the multiple strategies of fall, spring strategies for most animals are the same. Take in as much of the new food available in the mild spring weather and bear young at the best possible time. The female horned grebe makes a floating courtship nest to which she brings the male. In contrast, the female goldeneye leaves her mate behind to to locate a nest in a large woodpecker cavity. She circles through the trees until she finds a possible nest, lunging at the hole to attempt a break-in if necessary. Once a suitable cavity is found, she will need the help of her drake to protect it from other golden-eye pairs. Northern saw-whet owls and flying squirrels are among the many creatures that also nest in used woodpecker cavities. Newborn flying squirrels are recognizable only by their extra folds of skin, but in only a few days, their eyes, ears, whiskers, and fur develop. Spring beauty, azure as the dawn waters reflecting up at me. Spring beauty, green as new leaves budding, gentle as warm winds blowing, as new life brewing on the waters of the pond. Waters splashing, colors catching, oh, I can't wait until I see the pond waters smiling openly at me. The golden-eye clutch is complete now and ready for incubation to start. The extra care the female has taken in choosing a tree cavity rather than the ground like most other ducks now pays off handsomely in a snug, secure nest. The down keeps the eggs warm when she leaves to feed or stretch. Close by, this year's litter of fox pups still have their woolly natal coats, which help them camouflage during their vulnerable first weeks. They'll soon grow the characteristic red fox fur. Early marsh marigolds are followed by orchids and other flowers. Some, like the coral root, don't need leaves because they consume dead matter under the ground. "11 tiny golden eyes have hatched. Already self-sufficient, they'll be on their own very soon when the mother leaves to molt her feathers somewhere else. In a nearby aspen, a pair of red-tailed hawks have built a nest. Most red-tails specialize in partly forested habitats, so they're often found near pond openings. Like the coyotes, they find the ample supply of mice and voles at the pond edges very attractive. It's unusual for red-tails to have only one chick, so this one is particularly well cared for. Perhaps the adults are breeding for their first time, Large birds often have a smaller clutch during their first breeding season. Already, there's a mixture of seed heads and berries from earlier flowers. Some species are in full bloom. Others won't have flower buds for another month. These timing adaptations have come about over the years to help partition limited resources like sunlight so the plants can flourish. The northern flying squirrel babies are now more than half grown. It will be a while yet before they venture far from the nest, which is good, for they're an important item on the lower rungs of the food chain, a dangerous place to be. When I look at a tree, what do I see but a living community of bugs on bugs and bugs in leaves, and all of those which eat all of these. Like rungs on a ladder or links in a chain, every creature needs those above it and below it. The chain is complete when alone at the top, the predators eat. Like the princely heir of a hunter king, the red-tailed hawk chick inherits one of the top rungs of the pond area food chain as it eats the fruit of its parents' labors. Today, it's a young muskrat. Like a caterpillar turned into a butterfly, the red-tailed hawk chick has become a young adult. White-tailed bucks are in their fall rut. Normally shy and retiring, they now fight for access to does. Sometimes, events take an unpredictable twist. Two bucks have fought near the pond, each confident of victory. Instead, their antlers are hopelessly locked. Overnight, coyotes have killed and partly eaten one of the bucks. Perhaps the second buck will manage to free himself. But in the meantime, the coyotes wait. The forest around the pond doesn't sleep at night. The flying squirrel family has been joined by others. They share a communal nest to help keep warm as they rest during the cold winter days. Fur, skin, and cartilage adaptations make flying squirrels the marvelous acrobats they are. They're such superb gliders, they give the illusion of flying. There are telltale signs of activity crisscrossing the pond. They're graphic evidence of the struggle for survival. Despite the harsh winter conditions above, the pond still has plenty of life below the ice. Delicate damselfly larvae are one of the more important underwater predators. As spring arrives, the pond life is enriched by new species as numbers multiply rapidly. Pond lilies grow until the time comes for damsel and dragonflies to emerge, climb out of the water on a stalk, shed their skins, and dry out. In a short time, they mate and start the life cycle all over again. Multitudes of creatures, large and small, are doing the same as the circle of life keeps spinning around the mirror of the forest. What is it that makes the mirror so enchanting that if a pond is near, we visit it again and again? Watching the life? Certainly. But perhaps, as we reflect upon the waters, we see a little of ourselves in the antics of the pond creatures, in the gray waves of adverse weather and the changing colors of the seasons. We need the untamed qualities of earth, sky, and water preserved in a woodland pond.